What is going on, everybody? It's TheZachMichael here, and today we are going to be walking through creating a piano melody from scratch. If you guys do enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and check out elizabethrecords.net. Let's go ahead and get running into this. So I just loaded up a piano preset from Contact that we're going to use, and we're just going to kind of build out a whole melody here with all the different layers. And we're going to start with F minor being the key of today's sample, just because, I don't know, I like making stuff in minor a lot of times when it comes to pianos, and we're just going to go with F. So first thing we're going to do is kind of make a progression, just figure out the bass notes. I like how that sounds. So next what I'm going to do is duplicate the bass notes, put them up an octave, and then what I'm going to do is going to add the third, the fifth, and the seventh to each of these chords. Basically just skipping a note in between the scale. That's why I put the highlighters on, just so you can kind of see that visually with the ghost note. These are kind of the basic chords we have. I'm going to pitch this note down here, and the reason for that is because it'll make more sense. Like, as a piano player, you tend to want to keep the, essentially, like, the notes similarly to where your fingers would be. So it would be a lot harder for a piano player to do this octave jump. So like naturally they might transpose it. So we're just going to do that. It just kind of gives it a bit more of a realistic feel. You don't necessarily need to do it, but it just works for me. Also, that note is a little higher than I wanted it to be, and it might interrupt in the future when we get to the actual top line past the chords. Like, it might kind of interrupt that. Next I'm going to strum the opening chord just to kind of give it some variation. And so we're going to duplicate that. I'm going to turn down the velocities and then randomize them. Now, I know this is a lot quieter, but what I'll just do to basically counteract that is just open up a Fruity compressor and just add a bunch of gain. Because, like, this is a good piano preset. So, like, the harder you hit the key, the velocity affects how soft or how hard hitting it sounds. And I don't really want it to sound super, super hard hitting. So that's a good way to counteract that. And it doesn't really matter if you're just using a compressor for gain. It doesn't actually really compress the sound or do anything with that. So it doesn't really matter, and it just sounds good that way. Next, I'm going to load up Omnisphere and try to find like a good bass preset. A lot of these are sick, but they're very like ambient or aggressive. I didn't want something as aggressive. We're gonna take the bass notes here. Just kind of a simple pattern. That. Using the bass notes. Really nothing crazy. Turn on the velocity of that for now, the volume of that. Next, I'm going to load up Omnisphere. Another thing I like doing with a lot of my pianos to give them a more ambient sound and also just sound more full is I layer the chords with a pad. So we're going to load up a pad. Like this one. That'll work. Just kind of duplicate the chords, raise the velocities, lower it, and I'm just going to get rid of the strummed effect. And I'm going to remove these top notes. Actually, a lot of these middle notes too. So that way that's way more in the background. It doesn't fill up all the frequencies. Now that we have kind of those layers back, I'm going to go back to the original piano we had. And I'm actually going to clone this. So that way I get the exact same preset and all that sort of stuff. Put that on 5. Now, I already know I'm going to want to reverb this out, so I'm just going to throw on the reverb before I even get started. And what we're going to do is kind of create a top line. What we're going to do is just remove that because I no longer need the actual like highlighters. We're just going to be using notes within the chords already. And just kind of come up with a good looking sort of top line. Now over here, I just went to 1/6 beat because I know I wanted to glide like that. That. If I raise this up an octave. Just like that, we kind of have a top line. Go ahead, like the velocities. And just reverb this out and make it even bigger. Just like that, we kind of have the main stuff. I want to slow this down a bit. Honestly, we kind of did the mix as we go along, so I didn't really have to change much on the mix. It kind of already sounds how I want it to sound. So what I'm going to do is actually render out each of the sections here of the sample. And just kind of duplicate this over a bunch. This is the bass, so I'm just going to throw that down here. This is just kind of how I arrange all my samples. Just like that. So essentially the way I arrange it is I have all the elements in the beginning, all the elements minus the bass next, and then one element, the main melody, and the bass, the other element, the main melody, the bass, then just the main melody, and one of the elements, and then the stems at the end. So that way if someone wanted to pitch something differently or do something different with the sample, they could process stuff differently, etc. But that's how I create an emotional piano melody. So if you guys enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and check out ElizabethRecords.net. Head on over to ElizabethRecords.net if you'd like to support me. You can purchase VST expansion banks, drum kits, loop kits, and MIDI kits that'll level up your production there.